John Lusk here of Lusk Archery Adventures. Serious testing, successful hunting. I'm really excited to test out the STEELFORCE PHATHEAD today. This is a really stout, cool looking head, and I'm eager to put it through all the tests that I'm using for 2021. So let's zoom on in here, go through some of the design features and specifications, and then see how it performs. Here's the PHATHEAD close up, and this is the 100 grain model. The 100 grain model has a cutting diameter this way of 1 inch, and 3/4 inch this way with the bleeders. The 125 grain model has a little bit wider cut. It's 1 1/8 inch this way, and the same with the bleeders. The cool thing about this head is the main blades are 0.080 inches thick. So that's a super stout main blade there that comes to a pretty fine point. But given the thickness of the blade, I don't think it's going to roll over all that easily. Now, the ferrule is made out of aluminum. It's a 7075 T6 aluminum, which is a pretty stout aluminum. Those bleeders that have a 3/4 inch cut are extremely thin. Okay, I couldn't find a listing for them, but on my micrometer, it was 0.018 inches thick. So that's like maybe the thinnest blades I've ever seen in a bleeder, but it's just a bleeder. So it's gonna cut something. It's gonna open up that hole a bit more. So I'm eager to put these to the test and see how they do in long range flight, in edge sharpness, edge retention, in penetration, and durability. Let's see how these PHATHEADs perform. Bullseye. For 2021, I've made this edge retention test a bit more challenging. I'm not going to be testing out-of-the-box sharpness because every head I tested in 2020 cut paper out of the box. But I'm going to be starting from 0 points, and I'm going to be rubbing an Easton hex shaft over the Broadhead twice. And then I'm going to test it with a push paper test. And if it passes that, it gets 2 points. And I'm going to keep doing that up to a total of 10 points. 1, 2. Okay, the STEELFORCE did not cut paper after 2 strokes of the arrow. The PHATHEAD penetrated 8 1/4 inches. The PHATHEAD penetrated through the 55th layer. Here's the PHATHEAD after 5 shots through the steel plate, and you can see the main blade did very well. I mean, the tip got a tiny bit of rollover at the very tip. And then on the last shot, the blades got a little bit nicked up there and there. The bleeders got more nicked up, obviously. They're just bleeders. But they held up pretty well, too, for such a thin blade. So overall, they held up very well. And then you can see the holes here, and they're just a classic, 2-blade, main blade with bleeders. Nice little football hole like that. PHATHEAD after the 5th shot. Got a little bit of a wobble there. Let's see a tiny bit after the 4th shot. I definitely can see it after the 5th. Here's the PHATHEAD after being shot into the concrete. You can see it has a bit of a wobble to it. This was a new head. It wasn't the head that I'd used for the steel test. And you can see that the main blade bent a bit. Not very bad, man, for a cut-on-contact head like that. That 0.080 inch thick blade did relatively well, but it did bend. So what do you think of the PHATHEAD? I can see why people really like STEELFORCE. There's a lot to like about it. So check out the score sheets and see how it performed in the areas that matter to you the most and how it compares to other heads that are of a similar design.